Hey guys, it's probably a little bit strange to you to have a video talking about how to start Football Manager. I mean, you do literally click on start a new game, but there's a couple of things that you probably should think about before you start a new game and while you're part of the process. So let's go over this together and we'll talk about what some of those things are. So here we are, FM 24, newest version, and I'm going to start up my first game. And we're going to go over here to career. And here's the career game setup. We have the database here, and this is where you can choose your editor data files if you haven't done it before. You can see I have quite a few of them included, all sorts of files that you can find online. Now, I don't have complete packs, like the Dave Inc ID pack is not 100% complete because there's stuff that the World Super League also includes, and you don't want to have the same thing twice. But this is where you would go as part of the new game setup to choose your editor data files. That's kind of where you choose them and where they belong. Go over here to choose game mode. Now you have three different things to choose from. So you have original to play Football Manager in the traditional manner. This will say that all the players are on the teams that they're on as of the most recent update. You can change it to your world so that it's at the very beginning of the season with no real-life transfers reflected after that date. And then there's also real world here. What we're going to do, I think, is we're going to click over here on your world. Now, if we click on advanced setup, it will take us over here and give us a choice of active leagues. And there's a couple of different things out here that we're going to want to change. So we do have the World Super League set up. And we don't want to have anything else, no neighboring nations. We only want World Super League, and we want that to be at Super League 5 and above. This is for the specific type of league that I'm playing. If you want to play a different type of league, you're going to have perhaps different types of settings. You do want to add players to playable teams. I always play with that on. I don't like clicking do not add key staff. We want to have key staff. We're not going to worry about real fixtures. We're not going to use fake players and staff. We want to have first window transfer activity. We want player attribute masking, so we will not disable that. We're not going to prevent control of teams, but we will prevent the use of the in-game editor. Now, I haven't even bought that, so I mean, I'm not going to be able to use it anyway. But we don't want to use the in-game editor. We don't want to cheat. Now, this is the thing I really wanted to talk about here. For the approximate player count, most of the time when you start, it's going to be set on something like small. You can choose small, medium, large, or advanced. What I do for every save is, this doesn't even matter. What I do is I will open up every one of these continents and I will click on players of nationality. And what that does is it basically includes every single player that is part of Football Manager. And so that's why we have 481,000 players loaded. We have this many players loaded because we literally have every player in the game loaded up. Now, there are some people who will tell you that having every single player in the game loaded up will cause some problems in terms of the transfer market. The reason why this causes problems is because there's a lot of different players to choose from. Honestly, I've never really seen evidence that that's the case. This is one of those like Football Manager rumor things that I've heard. I've not seen anybody who has tested this out in the long run. I prefer to have every single possible player available because I just want to have every possible player available. I mean, that's just all there is to it. So that's the reason why I'm going to turn that on. And then we will go ahead and click Start Game. We do want to have one nation. We do want to have more players than that. And we probably will wind up with a couple of error messages because of the version of World Super League that we're using, but that's just sort of the way it is. And so we'll wait here for a little bit. I'm not going to have you sit through all of this. We'll pause this and we'll come back probably in a second or two. All right, it's been actually probably about 5 minutes, and it looks like we're back, so I'll go ahead and take you over here, and this is what things are set up. I like to set myself up as the youngest possible player manager I can be. 19. I thought usually I could be 18, but anyway, it doesn't really matter. And I'm going to make some edits here anyway, though, to this profile. So there's a couple of things that you want to keep in mind. And one of them is that things like nationality and the other languages spoken and stuff like that actually is quite important and will make a difference in the game. So we're going to do something a little bit unusual here. We're going to change the nationality of the player. It doesn't really, or of the manager. It doesn't really matter what you look like. You can make yourself from basically anywhere you want to be. And so we're going to become Japanese. We're going to say that we're from Tokyo. And we're also going to have a second nationality of North Korean. And it'll take a second here for us to scroll down. North Korean. That'll give us Korean language. And then we're also going to add on, I think, Chinese. And let's see, what else is in the area that might be somewhat useful for us. I think we're going to add on Vietnamese. I'm not so sure how that will fare in terms of football talent. And we're going to add on Thai as well. There we go. Now, the languages spoken don't necessarily make that much of a difference, but the nationality that you are will make a difference in the game. It's going to have a lot to do with the knowledge that you have of the world and players that you know are from a certain place like here or there. Now, it makes a difference depending really on how you want to play the game. If you're interested in creating a game in which you have certain limitations or there are certain things that are going to be difficult for you, you want to mess around with that nationality. Other languages spoken will make a little bit of a difference, but not really that much. Unfortunately, Football Manager doesn't really have a robust system in it to address things like, players not understanding you and trying to deal with cultural differences and stuff that basically doesn't exist in Football Manager. It would be really nice if it did, but Sports Interactive hasn't really done much with that. The game always feels like you're in England. I'd love that to change. I have no power over that, unfortunately. Date of birth, 2003 is unfortunately the most recent date of birth that we can choose. And for things like favorite team, I'm not convinced that favorite team really makes that much of a difference. I think you can choose something there if you want. I've never seen much of a difference when I've chosen it, not chosen it. Usually you don't want to learn about key management concepts because the game doesn't do a great job of teaching them to you. You can go through here and try to set up default responsibilities. I'm not even going to worry about that because I'm just going to go into the team and do it the old way. After this, we go set some stuff up with the body. I've already done all this stuff, so we're not going to worry too much about this. And then we get over here to choose team. Now, we're doing the World Super League, and as you can see, we have 96 teams in the Premier League, including quite a few from Saudi Arabia. Is that right? So it's going to be pretty interesting, but we're not going to go that high up. What we're interested in doing is we're interested in looking here a little bit further down in the World Super League to see sort of what kind of teams we can choose and what we can do to sort of build things up from the bottom up. So I'm going to go do a little bit of investigating, and then I'll come back and kind of show you what I found. All right, so after looking around and discerning what some of my options were, and I'll tell you, the World Super League seems to change with every single version. We're going to end up with Kashiwa Reysol, who are a smaller Japanese club, at least smaller in terms of the finances and definitely in terms of the stadium, only a capacity of a little bit over 15,000. We're going to go ahead and go with them, and the reason why is because they're pretty far down here in the league structure. We're down in Super League 4 in Serie D. And we have a long way to move up. Now, I will say that as a little bit of a criticism of the Super League, World Super League, when you go down to level 5, almost all of the teams down here are lower level English clubs. Some of them are not. I mean, some of these are teams from other countries. But I've always been somewhat tempted to go in and make a couple of changes to take away some of these English clubs and put in clubs from other nations. Now, that would create issues because of the way that finances work. I mean, we're talking about the real poor clubs down here. We're not going to go all the way down here, though, for this save. We're going to go here with Kashiwa, and that's the way it's going to be. Now, when we go over here, this is the next place where we have a big choice to make, and that is what kind of coaching badges do we want to give ourselves. At the very beginning, because we have a club that's so far down, we're going to be a Sunday League player with no experience, and we're just going to put everything at 0 and at default, and we're going to click on confirm. And that's it. That's how you set it up. Now, there's a whole bunch of stuff, as you can see, that you want to think about. And it all depends upon what kind of save it is you want to set up and what it is that you think is most important. But personally, for me, especially for this save, we want to have the room to build things up over time, which is the reason why I decided to choose this instead of choosing something up at the top. I already have a save with FM23. It's not going anywhere, where we're much further up and we're trying to fight for the top and we have all sorts of crazy stuff happening. This one is going to be hopefully a little bit less in terms of a little bit less stressful and a little bit more open to allow me to make some different changes and to try to do things a little bit difficult. We'll go into a little bit more of like what the rules are going to be here for the save as we go forward with these videos. This is going to be different though than what I've been doing so far. I'll tell you that, and it should be fun. I'll talk with you later, and there you have it. Bye-bye.